All right. Let's see. Hey guys, it's me in all my naps. Coming to you live once again. Hanifah and I waiting on her to come on so I can add her to the screen. And I'm going to pull this up because we're going to have a heart-to-heart conversation today. So let me see. Here we go. There's Hanifah. I think she has to request to join. Hey Hanifah. Let me know how I do this. You have to request to join, or I have to do something more on my end. Let me see. Request to be in your broadcast. Oh, I see. I had it off. Let me put it on. Okay, here we go. Add viewers. Add. Boom. Yep. Add Hanifah. New with this, as you can see.
There we are. Hey.
Yeah.
You hear me?
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Okay, so let
Can
me.
you hear me?
1 second. I'm gonna start sharing from my side. I'm gonna share it on my page and all that good stuff.
Okay, me too.
And family, if you're joining us on Facebook, share the stream, please. Share the stream. Share. Right post. Change to my timeline. Host.
How are you today, AlQamar?
I'm doing well. How are you today?
Well, I'm well.
Cool.
Looking like nice and sunny out there. I don't trust it though.
Oh no, I hadn't been out there
No.
yet. So, let me see. Share to a group. So,
I'm just gonna.
I'm sharing a few places.
Okay. Okay. I think that's.
And guys, we're about to get started. I'm just doing some sharing of the video to different pages and groups to get, as many people as we can to join us on this hot topic of discussion.
Yes. Let's do this. I'm super excited about this topic, by the way.
Yeah. It's your thing.
Okay, I am ready.
Okay.
Let me see. I shared that. Okay. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Hi, Karen. Hi, Callie. Hi, Genesis.
Hey,
a few people
logging
on.
I'm going to bring this a little closer so it could be a little more intimate. So, we're having an intimate discussion today, and we want you guys to join us. So, yeah, I'm going to share one more place on my other page. So, give me one more second, one more place, and we can get it going. So, share, family, if you guys are just joining us. Thank you so much.
Joining us, please share.
We want you to join this conversation.
Yes, we want as many people to chime in and to give feedback and to ask questions. We just want to have a conversation. And then we don't want to have it by ourselves.
Right. That's no fun. Okay, I have no notes. Look at this. Absolutely. All I have is the title. So today, it's really free form, straight up. So, right. Let me share what, cause these, I think, between us two in particular, you are the experts in this field when it comes to relationship topics, because I learn so much just by having heart-to-heart conversations with you. It's just me and you, And you always give me different perspectives on things that I had never considered before. It's like, whoa, I never even thought of it that way. So I love you for that. And I'm sure this is going to be no different. Relationships, one-on-one. How do we come up with this? Oh, you, basically.
Well, usually, for those of you guys who don't follow our page, we have the show called the Empower Hour. So follow us on Facebook, and we do a show every Wednesday at 2 p.m. 2 to 3 p.m. We give 1 hour. And so we were talking, hey, Tiffany, hey, Teresa. We were discussing just like hot topics, and we're always talking about relationships, right, AlQamar? At some point. A week never passes without us talking about relationships. Right. And we realize it's a hot topic for a lot of us, and I think it's because for the most part, most of us want to get it right. Also, some of us see that there are things wrong and we may not know how to go about correcting them. And so we got into talking about just how it started off with the Yanla episode with Trina Braxton.
Yeah.
So, something profound.
Yet to see. I gotta write that down. Okay.
Her ex-husband had made a really profound statement that kind of stuck out with me, and he was pretty much saying to her, I was attracted to you and I realized I wanted you because, and I'm paraphrasing here, guys, pretty much saying because you reminded me, you were what I was used to. So you demeaning me and bullying me was normal to me, and that is why I was attracted to you. And I was just blown, like, that is so dysfunctional. It's ridiculous, but it's so common, it's so common. And this is coming out of a man's mouth. Usually we'll talk about it around a woman, and rightly so, because you see a lot of childhood stuff played out in relationships from the woman's side as well. But to hear a man actually say that, it really made me go a little deeper. And like, I wanted to have this conversation just as women, even, realizing that men can be attracted to you because they see some of those same dysfunctional qualities that they grew up with in you, and that makes them feel comfortable, that makes them feel like that's their norm, so that's why they're with you. So that was sort of what we talked about, and so that's why we titled it Self-Inflicted Abuse, right? Where we find that we're going into relationships or situations or friendships, AlQamar, or friendships, just relationships across the board, where it is toxic and it is unhealthy, but it is normal to us, and that is our comfort zone, and so we remain there, So yeah, that's sort of where this conversation was birthed. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, like for examples, I guess, like we went back to childhood, because we, a lot of times we don't even realize it ourselves. Huh?
No, Tiffany says she don't see us. I mean, if anyone else can't see us, let us know, but it may be you.
Let us know.
Yeah, go ahead.
The screen black, Tiffany? I don't know. I can see fine. I don't know what that's about. Yeah. So, let me know if it gets better, or anybody else's screen is black. We don't want to be talking to you guys and the screen is just black.
Yeah, okay, someone else that they can see. So it may be you, Tiffany.
Okay. So, so normally I heard somebody say it once where they said we're just full-grown adults living out the reflections of how we grew up in our childhood, subconsciously, without really, when we really don't understand clearly how we were born and raised, the things that were said to us in our youth by parents and people that, and how all that affects our lives as adults. But we just go out, it's like we become our parents when we parent our own children and things like that. We don't really stop to analyze it psychologically. Or how did we come to this conclusion? How am I now sounding like my mother when I talk to my own children? And so that could be a good thing, and that could also be a not so good thing, you know. But we a lot of times we don't even know the difference between the good and bad. It's just how it's always been, how we do it. And so then when we get into full-fledged adult relationships, and you hear something like that coming from the brother, which he probably didn't even understand himself until Ayala helped him break it down, that, hey, this is what you've been used to. You've been used to being verbally abused. And
as unhealthy as it is.
Right.
As unhealthy as it is, this is clearly what you've been used to. You've normalized it, or your environment have normalized it, and therefore you have normalized it, right? And this is what the norm is. And so you don't even, it's not that this thing finds you. And it's interesting because you know what comes to mind, where, you know, oftentimes we talk about people attracting certain things to themselves. And I think there's a part of us where we're used to certain things being a certain way, where we don't even necessarily attract it. We go looking for it because it's our comfort zone. We go and we seek that thing out. And like you talk about the subconscious mind, you know what I mean? Most of us don't even understand how that works. And a lot of our issues are rooted in what's in our subconscious. You know, that's the other part of it as well, you know? And then the other piece too, the blame game that we have, personal accountability is lacking. That is a big lack that we have when it comes to trying to do this relationship thing. Everyone is blaming the other person. If you were raised by, let's say, a mother or a father, and they were bitter and they were angry all the time, and every time you heard them talk about why they're angry, it was because of someone else, you learn that. You learn that behavior, and therefore you do not take personal accountability. I always said, if someone is a dog and someone is an abuser and someone is, you know, you have all these names for this person and you're with them years on top, year in and year out, year in and year out. Now I have to have a conversation with you. What's going on with you? Because you're saying this person is all of these negative things, yet you remain in their space. What's up with you? Let's have a conversation about that. Because if we can have a conversation about that and fix that and heal that, then you can avoid making this mistake of allowing yourself or subjecting yourself to this type of relationship again. And then you could right there, you break a cycle, because we pass these things on to our children, not necessarily verbally, but they watch us. We model it.
Right. And like, for instance, I'm just thinking of like some examples we can give. Let's say, for instance, a couple is raising a child and they're no longer able to get along themselves together. And let's say, and I'm just coming off the top of my head with some examples. And you know, something goes wrong, and one of them starts saying, well, you know, I would have been able to better parent my child if she or if he hadn't given me such a hard time in trying to do it. Is that a good example, you think, or can you come up with a better one?
I think that's
anybody else on the stream.
Yeah, on the stream, you guys can chime in. I personally think that that's a legit thing. I think that as long as there is hurt, as long as there's unhealed wounds, as long as there is therapy and such, I think that that's a possibility where one person can hinder the other person or make the task of co-parenting extremely difficult. And until they deal with that, you know, so that could be a legit reason. I would say, now, that person may have a point in saying this person is making it difficult for me to really be there for my children. What that person cannot say is, you know, it's only because of that person that I have now found myself in this position as a parent. No. You had a part in that. You played a major part in that. We're talking about children here, right? You played a part in that. You spent some time with that person. You actually reproduced with that person. You know what I mean? So there's a point where, yes, you can say on one hand, he or she is bitter, he or she's angry, he or she has some serious unresolved issues, and therefore it's kind of interfering or is becoming a barrier to us, effectively co-parenting together, you're fine with saying that. But what you cannot say, it's because of them I have found myself in this position. You cannot put that all on them and leave yourself out. That's a lack of personal accountability on your part.
Yeah. Well, let's go into co-parenting a little bit, because I think that's a big issue for a lot of us, where I think the child suffers most of all when two parties in the relationship can't get along. And I think the pointing the finger thing comes into play at this too, because I think if neither party is willing to be the bigger person, or to fall on the sword sometimes, or to just ignore or whatever for the sake of the child, and then so the child suffers. So the child suffers when both parents fight. So what do you think is like some of the issues that we, Hanifah, you crooked.
I'm crooked?
Yeah.
I don't look crooked on my end, child, but go ahead. You're back.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay.
What do you guys think? I'm asking everybody. What do you guys think of some of the biggest barriers in co-parenting and getting along for the sake of the child? What do you think, Hanifah? What comes to mind?
Well, what comes to mind is, okay, so one of the things that I do notice, and I can use myself as an example for this, and I think you and I have talked about this before, it does something to the child's confidence, and it does something to them having a voice, right? And when I say that, I mean, when kids see parents constantly at each other's throat, right? They're witnessing this, right? But they have no say in it. They cannot fix it, but they're witnessing it, they're watching it. What happens eventually is that child is not going to be completely honest with either side, right? But eventually that child will feel the need to choose a side, which is really sad. Okay, they will eventually choose a side because they feel like they have to choose a side. It doesn't mean that they love one parent more than the other. They just feel like, I'm in a position where I need to choose a side because I don't want to be in trouble. Specifically, let's say most of the time they're living with the mom. That's just an example, guys. It could be the dad, but I'm using the mom in this example. They live with the mom majority of the time, right? And there's a bunch of conflict between dad and mom all the time, and the kids are witnessing that. Which side do you think they're eventually going to choose? The person, the caretaker, who is taking care of them majority of the time. And a child should not have to do that. Yeah. So what happens when a kid sees you getting along with the other parent and the co-parenting is working the way that it should work, that child is then able to have a voice, okay? Have some confidence to speak, like, I didn't like when daddy did this or said this, and have that conversation with the mom. Or talk to the father. I didn't like when mommy did this or mommy. That child is not going to pass information, like go back and forth, because they already seen the conflict. Yeah, I can't get it together, and I'm not adding fuel to the fire. So the child shuts down. You know what I mean?
Yes, but I do.
If it's done correctly, like me, my son have said to me, he like his dad a little bit more. He said, I love daddy just a little bit more, mommy, just a little bit more. And I was like, oh, okay. But then he was like, because he lets me do this and he lets me do that. He's like, but I still love you. But the fact that he could say that, he felt safe enough to say that to me, I realized very quickly a big part of that was because he sees us getting along. He knows that I'm not going to take it personal. You know what I mean? He knows that he's not going to get in trouble for saying it. And he also knows that I respect his father. And I know his father is a good father because I say it to him all the time. So that's what I'm saying. There's the difference, the confidence in him to say, I could say this to my mom because she don't hate my dad.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Good point.
Yeah.
Good point. I hear you, and what comes to mind is I think a lot of our children are caught in between the bickering. They don't have no safe space. Where do they go? You know, where do they go? Both parents, if they love both parents, and you know, and you go to one parent, and you know that one not feeling the person you love, and you go to the other parent, and that parent is not feeling the person you love on the other end either. Where do they go? I can only imagine their little hearts are so riddled with all these emotions. That's why I say that the child suffers the greatest. It's abuse. I think it's child abuse. It rolls into that.
Wow.
You know, I do. I think we don't really understand. Of course, we're not deliberately out to hurt our own seed.
Right.
But we do when we can't take our own emotions and rectify them and control them to a point where it doesn't, it's not a ricochet effect, and it boils over to our children. And with another thing I heard when you was making that description was, it seems to me like the child starts to try to protect one parent over the other. So like you said,
they choose a side. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and that's a lot of pressure for a child to be under. It's a lot of stress for our children to have to endure, just because we as parents can't get it together. But let's go to the stream, if you don't mind, honey.
Yeah. I see someone ask, Emerald. Hey, Emerald. Emerald asked. So Emerald asked, do anyone think it just happens to Black families?
Good question. I don't think so.
What do you think, AlQamar?
I don't think so. I think in instances like these, we tend to bubble our scenarios because of our own culture. Like if we live around and interact with and watch shows and all that's catered to, the vast majority of it is centered around us as people, then we start seeing ourselves in just that soul environment. So we don't really get what's really going on the other side, outside of Hollywood. You know, Hollywood is Hollywood. So you're gonna see the images being portrayed in Hollywood that's not in reality. That's just fact. So I would like to think that they probably deal with the same scenarios as we do. What you think, Hanifah?
I think that I agree with you on that part. As far as, I don't think it's just us. I think that me being a Black woman, my focus becomes us, because there's such a major breakdown in our family structures, you know, and most people talk about just the splits, but I need us to go a little further than that, because there are some people that shouldn't be together. Right? But we need to figure out past, okay, we got divorced, or we split, or when it didn't work out, or we're no longer together, or even there are situations where we barely knew each other and I got pregnant and I really feel, and abortion was not an option. And so I brought this, but we barely knew each other. We met one night and within a week I was pregnant. You know what I mean? In those situations, what needs to be done to make sure that these kids are still raised in a healthy relationship? Because when we think relationship, we always think that we need to be together. People can be civil towards each other, and they don't even got to be best friends, but they can respect each other for the sake of the child. So my thing is, the breakdown in our family structures, yes, but we need to go further than that. What happens? What do we have? What cushion do we have when the family unit breaks down? That is the dilemma we're having. What is the cushion? What are we falling back on? Because we're failing at co-parenting most of the time. Because people are hurt, people are angry, people are not taking care of their own mental health. You know what I'm saying? People are blaming. It's just a lot going on. So that's my focus. Okay, you guys can't be together and you shouldn't be together. Now what? What does that look like for this child? So yes, is it just us? Probably not, but my focus becomes us, because it's happening at an alarming rate in the Black community.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Tiffany said Tiffany said, yes, it does take work. She said, I'm working on that. It's not easy. She says she has to make sure she's doing her part though, make it easier so my son will see there's a safe space. I saw and felt the pain and realized that I needed a change to help relieve pressure on my child.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, in the money aspect is a big one too. I think a lot of us, when we split, if we're no longer together and we split, and one parent feels the pressures of having to raise that child without, that aid that maybe they once had, because it's a big deal when you're not physically together anymore, and then one parent is off to do their thing, and the other parent is left to have to tend to the bulk of raising that child, and not just feeding them and all that stuff, but homework and getting them up and getting them dressed and da da da. You know what I'm saying? And I think resentment could set in them circumstances. Go ahead.
So I know we started off talking about the self-inflicted abuse part, and just because what we're talking about is how do we get here. We're talking about the results of relationship breakdown, which we talk about self-inflicted abuse, why we enter into relationships, why we remain in toxic relationships, why we are drawn to certain relationships in the first place. Like, why am I with this person? You ever saw a friend or someone and they're with someone, you're like, this is the other thing where we're so exterior driven, like we're so focused on people's exterior. You always hear people say, why is she with him?
Right.
She's so beautiful. She can have anyone she wants. Why would she settle for that? And I think that in this society, we don't really focus on what's going on behind the curtains. What's really going on behind all of this, the mask, the facade. We don't focus on that. And so we see someone that's well put together, and well put together means in our mind, if it looks well put together, it probably is well put together. But we expose ourselves by what we do. We expose who we are by the choices we make. And that's a reality. And oftentimes we find ourselves in relationships and we're looking and saying, no, how you talk about you attract who you are. A lot of people don't want to take that on, don't even want to subscribe to that way of thinking, because then it requires them to take personal responsibility. And most of the times they're not trying to do that, especially if they were dogged out tremendously. They're looking like there is no way I'm like him or I'm like her. You can't compare us. Like, that person is evil, and but there's something in that person that drew you to them in the first place. There's something in that person that allow you to remain. And maybe if that person was that ugly, then there's something in you just as ugly, right? Or just as depressed, or just as pathetic, or just as sad, that allows you to remain in that situation. And that's the self-inflicted abuse. And because of that, and you subjected yourself to that year in and year out, now you brought babies into this toxic situation. And now we find ourselves not being able to really co-parent effectively. That person is exactly who they were as a girlfriend. They're the same person who they are today that you're struggling to co-parent with. It's the same person they were when you met them. You just decided to look past a whole bunch of stuff. So then now we have to deal with you. What would make you look past that to the point where you would even lay up and have children with this person? That's what I want to talk about, because that's where the healing is at.
Good point. Good point. Like, I heard Umar Johnson lecture once, and he said he was talking about reality programs and how we become so attached to them. We watch them. We watch them weekly. We look forward to seeing them. Although a lot of what is aired is destructive in nature. If we keeping an open and honest relationship here, conversation here, a lot of it is arguing, fighting, backstabbing. A lot of negative behavior goes on in these reality shows that we are so attracted to. And I remembered him saying, Umar Johnson in his lecture, he says a little bit of you in everything that you like. There's a little bit of you in everything that you like. Going back to what you're saying as it relates to our relationships. And so, you know, these harmful of relationships we find ourselves in, how do we get there? Like you say, how do we get there?
How do we get there? How do we get there?
How much does...
Go
ahead.
I was saying
finance and temptation. I was going to ask, how much does mental health play in our choices, our relationship choices?
I think that's a major part of it. You and I talk, for example, right? If we're honest, because we had talked the other day about this. Then this is a part of mental health. This is a part of the frequency in which you find yourself vibrating on, and that at that particular moment, right? At that particular time. You and I talk briefly about this, and as women, and I speak as a woman, right? If we go back and we look at the people that we allow in our space, the men that we allow in our space, the people we decide, friends and whoever else that we allow in our space to have relations with, right? Then you grow and you look back, and we always have a time where like, how was I even in that space? And this is where study of self, tuning into self, listening to self, knowing self comes in, because it's not for you to say it wasn't me, it was that person. It's for you to look and see where you were at that time. Wherever you were at matched where that person was at, and that's why they were allowed into your space. All of us have a story like that, where we weren't our best selves. And if we look at those times when we weren't our best selves and who we allowed in our space, the friendships that we allowed to play out during that time, it should tell you you are attracting who, or necessarily where you are. I like to say where you are. You attract, the people you attract in your space is really based on where you are in that time on your journey. I truly believe that. Because when you start vibrating on a higher level, or you are in the business of attaining to your higher self or functioning within your higher self, you don't business with nonsense. You just don't. You don't really entertain a lot of, you just don't. It's the truth. And that's in friendships, business relationships, everything, AlQamar, across the board.
I agree.
So that's a part of mental health as well. Where are you at mentally? And this is why when you're going through things, if you're going through, maybe you lost someone, or you're grieving, you're going through a tough time, it's probably not the right time to start a new relationship. Or even like they say, or even a good time to start a new business venture. And it's interesting because most of us throw ourselves in those things as a part of suppressing that pain that we're feeling. We use it to numb. And it always ends up not being the best because we're not our best selves.
Yes. If you're just joining this conversation, we welcome you. My name is AlQamar, and that's Hanifah in your box. And we have a program called the Empower Hour, where we take 1 hour out of your busy midweek, Wednesdays from 2 to 3 p.m. And we come to you with impactful topics of discussion, such as this. This is one of our off shows pertaining to relationships, because a lot of our programming we do on the regular schedule, we include guests, special studio guests, invited guests to come and join us. And so if you're interested in joining us on the Empower Hour and getting our live streams, follow us on Facebook. It's Empower Hour Talk Show. And you'll see me and Hanifah's picture pop up, and you know you're in the right place. I see Emerald asked, she said, us women seem to compete. That's a big one we've discussed before too.
Against each other?
Is that
against each other?
Yeah. Is that what you mean, Emerald?
I was too.
You want to elaborate a little bit more about that
Yeah.
point you just made? Um, what I was going to say, I had patience written down. Oh, I
Oh,
wanted to say, you had something to say, Hanifa?
yeah. But go ahead. I can speak after your point.
How much is like patience involved in the decisions we make? Like you mentioned how just now, how oh man, I just lost my train of thought. Let me get it. Let me get it. How oh man, I don't know where I'm going with that, but I wrote patience down because that came to mind. Like it seems we're quick to jump in. We're quick to
Okay.
jump in relationships. We a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
of times, you know, we quick to have children, like you said, with others that we don't even, you know, took the time to kind of, you know, study and gain a proper understanding of their personality and characteristics and stuff. So what the rest? Sometimes marriage comes into play real fast. What do you
Right.
think? What do you think this urgency is about? In a lot of us that we have to be, you know, quick to move in together. That's another one. This sense of urgency, and then stuff it like crash and burns. And it's like, well,
Yes.
well, in my mind, I'm like, well, if we would have only taken a little more time and a little more
Right.
patience to get to know one another better, then you know, I think, and if things didn't turn out right, it wouldn't be so much damage, you
Right.
know, involved. What do you think about
I
that?
I think it speaks to Emerald said yes, she was talking about the competition amongst women. I think it's what you're talking about is exactly that. That's a part of it, what Emerald is mentioning. The our tendency to try to compete. You know, women tend to be like on this time, this clock. You know what I mean? I need to do this by this age. I need to get this done. Or if they're in a circle of women who individuality and respectability as far as each other's journey is not encouraged, but solely competition. Oh, when you gonna do this? You know, you've been saying you're going to do this forever, or I have this and you don't have this. So there's a lot of competition and not allowing people to grow and evolve at their own pace. If you're in that type of environment, that's a lot of pressure. Some of us come from families where there's a lot of pressure, big families, and everyone might be doing what we say is well, having kids, marriage, and so forth. The pressure of society as a whole, where a woman's worth, a woman's value is wrapped up in her being, it's wrapped up in a man. It's wrapped up in a man, in her being married, in her even having kids. And so shout out to all the women that don't want kids. It doesn't make you less than a woman. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying because it's the society we live in. You know,
Yeah.
you don't know why, yeah, you don't know why they don't want kids, but it's the pressure of the society that we find ourselves in today. I think that's a big part of it. And because of that pressure, it makes us compete. I always say competition comes from, and jealousy and covetousness comes from a place of lack and fear. If
Yeah.
you think that there's a lack, and lack to me is an illusion, there's enough for everyone out here.
That's right.
Okay? Right. And so if you fall into the trap of there's not enough and therefore I need to smash an AlQamar's head to get on top, you know what I'm saying? Or I need to use AlQamar for her energy and her resources and then drop her like, you know, a dirty rag so that I can get ahead. You fell for the lie of there's a lack. And then you also trapped by your own fear. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of women fall into that trap as well, where it's I need to compete, I need to do this, you know. And then I think a big part of it is the whole biological clock piece with
Mm.
women, you know. And then we start getting up in a certain age and we put the pressure on the men we find ourselves in relationships with. So where is this going? And at a certain point, a woman should have the right to ask that question to determine whether she and that guy is on the same page. I push that. You know, women I talk to, if they're like, well, I'm gonna ask, I'm like, it's kind of early. Wait a little bit, and then if it's still there, yes, you have the right to ask. Men be like, why do y'all ask that? Why do y'all not talk about it? So that's the other part of it too, where women have had experiences and they're tired of wasting time.
Yeah.
You know, they're like, no,
Yeah.
I'm not wasting any more time and energy only to find out that you and I are not on the same page. How long does it take? And AlQamar, we talked about this. How long does it take to realize you and someone else is not on the same page? It doesn't take that long.
Yeah, and we fight against that too.
Yeah, what takes long is your attempt to convince them that this is what they should want, or to convince them to choose you. That's what's taking you long. Yeah. Figuring out if you guys are on the same page is not taking you that long.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what that is.
And we're gonna come back, promise, Emerald, to your point. But what about like the butterfly effect? That's what I call it. The all warm and fuzzy feelings when you first meet, and oh, they make me feel so great. And we act on those feelings alone and make major decisions on those feelings alone.
We plan the entire life based on those feelings.
Right. And yeah, so how much does that play into again, the decisions? So when we make lifelong decisions on those emotions alone, and then when the dust starts to settle or the butterflies start to hibernate, we're looking out like, whoa, my God, what have I done? Versus just being a little patient and saying, this is great, and let's, and not taking anything against that. That's a beautiful place to be, when two people feel that way about each other.
That's the best feeling in the world.
Right.
That's the best feeling in the world.
Right. I agree. But I think that we can get, my father used to always say, your head is above your heart for a reason. Your head is above your heart for a reason. So he was saying that your higher self is here. Your heart for sure. You definitely, pay attention to your heart, but your head is the crown. So we have to, I think, begin to make better, wiser, or more intelligent decisions, even when it comes to love in relationships.
Yeah, that butterfly effect that you're talking about, the butterfly feeling, that we feel, we have to see it as no different than a high.
Say it again.
We have to, a high, a feeling of being high, intoxication. We have to see it no different than being intoxicated. We are not in our right mind during that time. We just aren't. And we have to see that for what it is. We should not be in our 30s and 40s and falling for the whole butterfly feeling and building whole kingdoms in our minds around that feeling. It will dissipate. The feeling will go away. Now what? That feeling allows you to look past that big old dent in the middle of his head, that one crooked eye that he has, the fact that his ear is like down here by his neck. That's intoxication. You miss out.
Right.
We have to see it for what it is. It is a form of intoxication. So if you're going to make solid, lifelong commitment, right, you need to allow that to wear off. We all know what we're talking about here, right? Let it wear off so that you can make those decisions, because it will wear off. Let's see what some people are saying here. Spud just came in and said,
well, Emerald had something a little before Spud.
Oh, okay. Men and women who watch relationship will envy the individual in the relationship. And the moment something goes wrong, the outsider jumps in and say, I can treat you better. Then the home becomes broken.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then I think that again goes into giving the onus to other people, as opposed to focusing more on what's best for you. I don't know, Hanifah, you might have a different.
And I mean, I agree with what you're saying, AlQamar. And then when you say when something goes wrong, are we talking about like an argument, a disagreement, or are we talking about divorce? Because if you're divorced and you've done the work as far as fixing the things within yourself that contributed to the breakdown in your relationship or your marriage, then somebody else can jump in all they want. That's not my business. But if you're talking about where people are watching a relationship and there's envy in it because they're seeing how one person is being treated, which I feel like that's probably what Emerald is talking about. They're watching and they're jealous and they're hoping that the relationship doesn't last. You know, there are those situations as well. And then he said, then the home becomes broken. I would dare say, Emerald, the home becomes broken way before that person steps in.
No doubt.
Way before. Doubt.
That's what I'm saying, because of there's the third party effect. Because if your union is strong, if that bond is strong, can't no third party come. I don't care what is being said on in whoever ear. You know, it doesn't. It won't make a hill of beans to what's going on in that strong, committed, bonded relationship.
Yeah. And I think another thing, if I'm going to shift it a little bit, because we were talking about the reason why we talk about Trina Braxton kind of like being one of the reasons. The other piece was the whole controversial old allegations that's going around about the rapper Fabulous. And then there's a recording which I had sent you with him in a physical altercation with her father. And then it looks like he has a weapon in his hand, and then he steps towards her and you see her run. That baseball player as well, where you see him beating that woman in the stairwell. I showed you that one.
Yeah.
You know, and he goes back inside and she wouldn't even leave. Like, someone is literally trying to kill you, ma'am, you know, but she wouldn't leave. And so we talked about that as far as violence, the normalization of violence in our homes. Right? And it's when we talk about that, we think it's just, oh, well, my domestic violence, like my father was hitting my mom and therefore that became okay. We are introduced and I'm talking specifically in the Black community here. Most of us are first introduced to violence in our homes.
Yes,
and
I'm not talking about
television. We're not talking about the television. We're talking about the way that we're choosing to raise our children, you know, to where they do something wrong or something that's normal. You know, normal, when I said, I mean like children do silly stuff. You know, my son broke one of my tripods. I found out when he left to go to his dad, I found the tripod hidden under the couch. So clearly he tried to hide his wrongdoing. He should have just thrown it in the garbage if I was him. I didn't give him the idea, but yeah. So I found it under the couch, and when he came back to me the next week, I confronted him about it. And I said, why wouldn't you say you broke it, you know? And he was like, well, I don't know. I was scared, you know? And we talked about it, and I'm like, this is a thing. It can be replaced, right? But I want to teach you integrity. You know what I'm saying? So that means like if you do something wrong or you broke something of someone's, you tell them. And if you have to find a way to pay them back for it, then you do that. But this starts here. This starts in this house. This starts at home. Now, I could have easily yoked him up. I could have spanked him. I could have did all those things, you know. But a lot of us are raising our kids to every little thing that they do, we are physically hurting them. That is a form of violence. I do not care how we fix it. I do not care how we do. It is not normal and it is not nonviolent to pop a child in their mouth. It is not nonviolent to hit a kid in the back of the head. It is not nonviolent to kick a child because they did something wrong. It is not nonviolent to pick a belt up to beat a child for doing something childlike. It's not. That is the first introduction of violence most of us as Black people get, is right there in our own homes. And then we end up in relationships and we think yelling at each other and putting our hands on each other is normal. We don't think as women that if a man does something wrong and we slap him and he walks up and say, I'm not coming back, that we think that's an overreaction on his part.
Good teaching.
No, you put your hands on him. You should have never done that. That is a form of abuse. I don't care. It has nothing to do with your gender. And we have made abuse gender-based. We have made it to where it's only abuse when a man puts his hand on a woman. No, we need to talk to our daughters about putting their hands on men too. The same way we're raising our boys to walk away and do all of this. You need to teach your daughters the same thing, because every man out there is not going to be my son.
That's right.
Some of our men are being raised in homes where the television and violence on television is raising them. Some of them are in homes where siblings fight like animals, or mom and dad fight like animals, or mom and their sibling fight like animals, or dad and his siblings fight like animals, and your daughter is going to hit that boy and he's going to react boom, because that is his first reaction, because that's what he's exposed to. So never, like, we need to think about this stuff, because as women, specifically Black women, we see the videos all the time. That's the part of what I mean. That's where we're learning the violence in our home. It has become normalized, and then we take it into our relationships, and we wonder why our relationships are not lasting. We're coming in there with such aggression, on both sides.
Yeah, and the abuse, actually, once the abuse becomes physical, we didn't. It started verbally. You know, it started verbally, and I think that we don't take a lot of times into consideration even some of the things we just say to each other on a regular basis that is verbal abuse. And, you know, and again, going back to the root causes of why we do the things we do, and a lot of times is how, you know, our own parents chose to parent us, really, you know. And I think about my own personal scenario, I think about this incident once, when my son was maybe about 5 years old, and he spilled a glass of milk, and it fell off the table and hit the rug. And I remember having a conniption, you know, how that, you know, really is angry. But I think about too where I was in that space in my life at that time. Yeah. Like you said, going back, if you can look back when you're not in that space no more, you can see, you know, how dysfunctional you were at one point in time with his choosing relationships and all that. But going back to the son. And so, you know, I spanked him. I got all upset with him, called him clumsy, sent him to his room. I mean, all the things that what I know now, I would not do.
Right. About
a week later, I had a girlfriend come over. We was chilling. We was having a good time, laughing and kikiing. She and I both had glasses of wine. And she tipped over her glass of wine, Hanifah, and spilled it on my carpet. And you know what I did? Oh, she was so apologetic. No, she was so apologetic. Oh, no, girl, that's fine. Oh, that's just wine. I get it. Went and got some paper towels, mopped up the wine. We laughed about it, sat right back down and had a good time. That image for me is one of those scenarios that I'll never forget. It was a defining moment for me. I didn't realize till a lot later when I look back at the two scenarios what had just happened with me. Not my son, not my girlfriend, with me, and how I chose to handle those two different scenarios really opened my eyes to something. I was like, wow. So yeah, that's real. The verbal abuse.
How old was your son?
He was about 5.
Oh, wow. And your girlfriend was about what? You guys were in your 20s?
Oh, we were, at that time, I had my son young. I was like 17. Like 22, 23 years old.
Yeah, okay. So it's interesting how you give someone who's been on this planet probably near 25 years a pass, and someone who's only been here 5 years gets no pass. Do you see the psychology behind of that? Like the pathology behind of it, period, is sickening.
And not only did he not get a pass, he got verbally abused.
Absolutely.
Oh, physically too, because I spanked him. He got abused for something as harmless as spilling milk, you know.
5 years old versus 25. No, and I'm glad you brought that up, because that is a real thing.
Yeah.
That is a real thing. We are way more forgiving of people who are our age, who actually should know better in a lot of things, than we do to our children who've only spent this amount of time in this world. That's just so profound. That little example you just gave. You know what I'm saying? Let me see what the comment section. Spot is saying, I feel men and women has a position to play. People say men shouldn't hit women, but women confuse this thing when become police officers, join the army, become correction officers, etc. I believe people shouldn't put hands on anyone, man and woman. I agree. I agree. And that's what we were saying. Everyone should keep their hands to themselves. You know, there are situations, and I told you this, AlQamar, where I've had stories being told, and it's often one-sided. And what I've learned to do is ask questions. So then you start asking questions, and it's the woman is telling the story, and it's really one-sided. Oh, he pushed me, right? And then as you dig deeper, you realize that you threw a glass at his head. Let's see what else. You keyed his car. What else you did, girl? You did so many things. And right, that led up to this push. But the thing that is now over exaggerated, and I don't want to even act like a man should hit a woman. That's not what I'm advocating here. But when you dig deeper, you realize that she had physically abused him prior to the push she got. Mm-hmm. But we don't want to talk about that because she's a woman and men should not hit women. Right. Period. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. And he probably tried to walk away. Oh yeah, he tried to walk away. You meet the man, the neck of his shirt is down to his navel from being dragged. It's stretched completely out. So you probably,
that's so true.
Situation, and I'm like, you need to check the scene before you make a conclusion. Check the scene. The man's shirt is completely stretched out. His eye is peed. I mean, come on now. He has a big old scar.
He got stains on his shirt for throwing water and juice and stuff on him.
He got splintered glass in his afro. You know, but we're not gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about the push she got. Yeah. Come on now. You know, if we're gonna have these conversations, we have to have them on a real level, and we have to hold all parties involved accountable. There are those situations where men are abusing women and they're weak for it, absolutely. But there are situations where women are abusing men as well, physically. Oh, we are something with the mouth, AlQamar. Like, we got that verbal abuse. We got it on lock.
That's a weapon. It's our weapon. We do, and we do it so well.
Weapon because we don't have the physics. Some of us don't have the physical strength to whoop men, and we see that. And so what we've learned is how to utilize our words to destroy them, to break their spirit. You know, when women say, and men, I've heard men say this and women, and I think it's a very arrogant statement. You'll never find anyone to love you like me. Boy, woman, if you don't go sit down somewhere, you really think you're the only one that is such a good giver of love? I'll take my chances. You know what I mean? But I also think even that is almost like an abuse, a statement that an abuser often use. A manipulator. That's what I mean. Manipulation is a form of abuse to me as well. But yeah, you women, we abuse with our tongue. Yeah, we got that unlocked. The viciousness, the poison, the venom that comes from our mouths. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think men can compete with that. Mm-hmm.
So Emerald asked, okay. Mm-hmm. Emerald asked, at what age do we talk to our children about relationships? I think we, okay, of course, you know, conversations come up here and there, but I think we do more showing them than talking to them.
I was going to say that we're always talking to our children about relationships, whether we acknowledge it or not. They are seeing us in how we do friendships. They're seeing us in how we interact in family dynamics. They're seeing us, because most of us, we're like, I've never brought a man around my child or a woman around my child. And we think that's it. It's like, okay, that's the only form of relationships. No, we're showing them how to do relationships and how we co-parent with their other parent. You know, so we're always communicating how to do relationship with our children. If you're talking specifically male-female dynamic, I think you'll know. The minute they start talking about girlfriends and crushes and boyfriends and stuff, have a conversation. But here's the thing, your actions are speaking way louder than your words. You can't teach your child one thing about relationship and they're watching you and their father in the home doing something completely different. It's a higher chance that they're going to do what they're seeing than do what they're hearing. That's the reality of it. Yep.
No, and not even it's subconsciously. It is really it goes on and it plays out in our minds, and we don't even realize what's happening. It's like a computer being booted up. So, you know what I'm saying? Every time they see something or hear something, it's being booted into their computer, their brain computer. And it plays itself out later when they have circumstances or interact with into circumstances and situations that are similar to what they just watch play out. They don't even realize what's going on with them. We don't even realize as we get older. Again, going back to the scenario I gave earlier about my mother. You know, I think about some of the stuff I say to my children and stuff like, wow, my mother used to say that to me. And you know, how did I become my mother? Because of, you know, I'm a product of my environment.
Yes.
That's hands down.
It's like coding, AlQamar. I had bought Sam this Lego thing where you can build. They give you these particular things that you can build. So we have built a robot, and he was really excited about it. And then they also teaches the child how to code. So you put in certain codes and then you press play, and the thing will run through each of those codes. So if you want the robot to turn left, you'll put in the little thing to the arrow that turns left, and then the arrow that turns right afterwards, and perhaps the arrow that turns straight. Whatever you need him to do, you'll do them in that particular order. And I found that sometimes I would change out something and then forget to change something else out, and I'll press play, and then I'm like, no, I didn't want him to go left. Oh, I didn't take out the button where I coded it to go left. And I use that example to say it's like a coding that we like, a coding within us that has happened, that subconscious that you're talking about, where it's like we have to go in and undo so many things to correct it, because whether we want to go in that direction or not, we're finding ourselves still doing things that we know are wrong. And then you have to stop and ask yourself, why is it that I know better but I am not doing better? What is that about? And I think that's where the coding comes in. So then now you have to face, and a lot of us do not want to face these things because it requires us to be truthful about our upbringing. It requires us to be truthful about the failure on our parents' part, right? To acknowledge that they dropped the ball in some areas. We're not saying they didn't love us. They did their best, AlQamar. Okay, right. So sometimes it's hard for us to go back and undo that, because before you can undo it, you have to first accept that it is not working for you, that it is possibly wrong.
Right. And what helps me is what helps me is I coming to the realization that my mother was parented herself. And so, you know what I'm saying? So what was, you know, how was she raised? And what was going on in her life, you know, when she was being raised, and then go back even further. And so hence going into the breaking the generational curse scenario. So it's like I'm not blaming anybody, you know what I'm saying? And our parents did the best all they knew to do, you know, when they were raising us, and vice versa. So, but I think when we know better, we have a responsibility to do better, you know, because it's not, especially when we have children. It's no longer about us anymore. We have to, now, if we know better and don't do better, we're carrying on these toxic scenarios into a whole new generation, you know, and so and then here we go, repeating the same negative patterns and getting the same negative results. So we have to fix ourselves. What do you think? Because Hanifah, we went over a little.
Sorry.
But I think it's important, to go into how do we solve some of these dilemmas, you think, that we talked about?
I think that you just spoke on one, because as soon as you mentioned that, as far as if you know better, do better, just looking at the tools and you know, building our toolbox. Our toolboxes. When you mentioned that, the thought that came to my mind is, you're right. We're not condemning our parents. They built with the tools that they were given.
Mm-hmm.
And those before them built with the tools that they were given. If I only have a hammer and some wood and a few nails, AlQamar, and you have a bulldozer, you have a landscape, someone to do your landscape, you got shingles, you got wood, you got sheetrock, you got all of these things. When by the time we're finished building, your house looks like a straight up, like it was professionally done. You could, you know, my house is giving me shelter, but it's barely standing. But that's the best I could do because all I had was a hammer, some wood, and some nails. We have to upgrade our toolboxes as much as we possibly can, which every new generation we ought to be doing better. Not looking back and saying, whoa, is our parents. They did the best with what they had. They did the best with what they were given. Now moving forward, what does that look like? We are to be equipping and giving our children the tools that we were not given, so that their house do not have to look like it was just built with a hammer and nails. That is not necessary. We need to sort out information as much as possible. We know when we're coming up short. This thing called parenting does not come with a manual. It is trial and error. And also every child is not, especially when you have more than one child, every child is not wired the same. So if you need help, we need to be able to say, I need help.
Yeah.
I need help with this. Yeah. And we need to be able to sort it out, not just in the village, but also personal help. Because we know when stuff ain't going right up here, AlQamar. We know when we having thoughts about throwing our child up against the wall. We know, so being able, I've had friends that have called and driven themselves to the hospital. And you know what? I don't judge them. I look at them and say, yeah, that's a good thing. That you can hear that and see that and be able to say, I need help. So that's a part of it, is acknowledging that we need help in this thing. We cannot do this alone, AlQamar. You know what I'm saying? And forming little villages around ourselves, little support system around ourselves with healthy individuals.
Yes, that's key. Yeah, and I did, because I got stories. If I I can go hours, family, to share with you guys some of the wrongs that I had become accustomed to as it related to raising my own children. I had my children young. My firstborn I was 17. I had my daughter at 21. My son's father, he was shot and killed when my son was 6 months old. And so, I've always been like an independent soul. And so I was out on my own at 18 years old. But anyway, I don't want to go into the whole gamut, but I have stories. And so of the things that I had to relearn and re-educate myself. And I look back and like, whoa, if I only had the information then that I have now, how different will all of our lives be? But what I did do at one point, when I knew that things were just too much, it got too much for me to handle. Things were just unraveling, and I couldn't do it myself. And I reached out, and I found a parenting class. And that class literally changed the course of my life. It did. And you'd be surprised at the help that's available right around you when you reach out. You know what I'm saying? It was I would have never thought that this type of help was available in my own neighborhood. But I went in searching for it and found the 6-week parenting course. And I went it. But what stuck out for me more than anything else, Hanifah, is when I went to that course, I had the thought in mind about that first day, good, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to learn from these people, and they're going to teach me how my children can be better, more disciplined. They're going to teach me how. Yeah, I said, like, now I'm going to get the help I need to be able to properly discipline these rowdy children. By the time I left that class, I realized, wow, they didn't need the discipline. I needed the discipline. It wasn't about them, it was about me. So I took a lot from that course. It gave me a lot of tools, helpful tools, and helped me to chart a better course as it related to building a better relationship with my children, because that's what it boiled down to, But anyway, so
So,
Seek help.
being
Seek
that
help.
you said that, we're going to pick up this conversation on Wednesday at 2 p.m., 2 to 3 p.m., because we're going to be discussing mental health and the mental health and the effects it has on relationships and parenting, in our community. That's sort of what Dee and I are going to be talking about, and she's the professional. She's the mental health specialist in this particular area. She deals with children and so forth. So she'll be on our show on Wednesday, and we're going to delve deeper into that as well. The mental health piece around parenting and relationships, because that's a part. Mental health is still a taboo topic in our community. Yet we're suffering because we are not educated about it. Yeah.
And we just seen that on the world stage recently with the brother who lost his brother by the cops. The cops shot him in the back 20 times or something. And you saw right there on the national TV how he was unraveling mentally. But that's unfortunately that's becoming like a normal state in affairs in our society, in our culture. We gotta address it.
Yeah. So definitely we'll be touching on that on Wednesday on the show. So yeah, we went over our time, guys.
Yeah. So, and we appreciate you guys joining us and appreciate you guys sharing the information and always encouraging us to keep going. And if you have any topics you want us to talk about, shoot them out. Because again, you see, we are big on community, bringing the community together, sharing these type of discussions together, doing the back and forth. So if you feel and you think you need your own voice needs to be heard, or you have something that's been burning in you and you want us to talk about together as a collective, shoot it out to us. We're on the Empower Hour talk show on Facebook.
Yeah. So follow the page so you can get the notification when we start, every Wednesday you'll get the notification when we go live. And we're taping from two angles. We're live, but we're also taping in the studio, so you can watch it also on eLife Group Media on Facebook as well. So yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So thank you, AlQamar, as usual. That was a great conversation. We can go for hours talking about these topics, and it's always an honor, and I always learn something. And thank you guys for tuning in. Yeah.
All right. Take care, guys. Maximus, Tiffany, Emerald. Thank you, guys. All right. We'll see you next time. Take care. Peace.